Okay, so as I said before we went away for break, we are going to look now at box and whisker plots. And box and whisker plots are essentially a way to visually represent a 5-number summary. So the box and whisker plots will display the median and the spread of a data set. So the median and spread of a data set. So within this, the box represents the middle half. Of the data, so that's essentially the spread from Q1 to Q3 when we're thinking about our 5-number summaries. And the whiskers show the full spread. Of the data. So this is the minimum and the maximum. So we'll look now at what that looks like in relationship to the 5-number summary. So again, the 5-number summary is the minimum, the first quartile, so Q1, then it's the median, then we have the Q3, the third quartile, and the maximum. So our box and whisker diagram will look like this here. So this point here will be, that's the minimum. And here is where we would have the value for Q1 and the median in the middle here. And then here we have the Q3, the third or the upper quartile, and then lastly is the max. So what's the biggest data point? So again, the quartiles are, that's how we're dividing the data into 4 quartiles. So we're cutting it in half using the median as the center. Okay, so now we want to look at how we build a box and whisker plot. So again, so we've just talked about all of the different elements, so now we're going to look at how we actually put one together. So we want to first, we're going to have to find the 5-number summary. So that means we need to find the median, and then we need to find the different quartiles. So the first thing we have to do is arrange the data in order from the least to the greatest values. So if we're using this data here, we're going to first arrange it from the lowest to the highest. So here we have 89, 122, 129, 140, 154, 159, 165, 169, 175.5, 179, 189, 215, 220, we have 230 twice, then we have 245, 269.9, 278.8, 289, 309, 389.9, and 456. So we should have 22 numbers total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so if we split them, if we look at our two, we know we'll have an even number of, so we know we'll have to find the average of two numbers in terms of looking for our median. So the numbers in the middle will be 189 and 215. And the average of those numbers will be 202. So we have our median now, and now we want to look at our quartiles. So we want to find our lower quartile. So remember, those numbers that were part of the two numbers for the average will count as the lower and upper quartile. So now that will become our lower quartile. So there should be 11 numbers there. So if we're looking at our Q1 will be what is in the middle there. So if we look at what's in the middle there, should be 159. And then we have our Q2 will include this 215. So our Q2 in the middle there would be 269.9. So that would be our Q3. And we can use, now we have all of the data we need to write our box and to draw our box and whisker plot. So the first thing we need to do in any of the, anytime we're doing anything on a graph is we need to fill in our number line here. So again, we're working in hundreds of thousands and we're working with a wide spread of numbers. So it won't be perfect. It'll be an estimate, but I'm going to go up by 100,000s here. So this, I'm going to have 100, and I'm going to write it 200, 300, 400, and 500. So those are in my 100,000s, right? So in order to look at how we're going to create the box and whisker plot, we need those pieces of data, right? So I'm going to start with the median. And so that's what the middle value is. And that is 202. So for this purposes, again, because it's quite a small figure in terms of this is 100,000, it'll look like it's right on the 200,000 essentially. So that's the median. So that's the first part of drawing our box in terms of the box and the whiskers. So the first thing we do is the median. So now we want to look at the Q1 and the Q3. So Q1 we identified here was 159. So that's going to be about halfway between the 100 and the 200 again, because it's not going to be perfect because we don't have a line for every value. And then our Q3, we're going to put back that, so that's going to be pretty close to the halfway between 2 and 3. So a little bit further than halfway maybe. And there's my Q3. So now we can draw that box. So that box represents that Q1 here, the median in the middle, and then the Q3 at the end. So then the last thing we're going to do now is we're going to draw the whiskers. So the whiskers is just the minimum and the maximum. So we know the lowest value is 89. So that's going to probably be pretty close to the 100,000 mark. So I'm going to put that, just draw that as a dot right there. And then the maximum is 456. So that's going to go all the way over here, kind of halfway between the 4 and the 500. And then I just connect those whiskers to the box, and it shows us the full, now we have our full box and whisker chart. So I forgot to fill these in as Q1 and Q3, and then lowest and highest values. So again, with everything, we want to make sure we don't forget a title and labels. So in this case, we would have, this is house prices, right? And then down here, I would probably write in thousands, because that's how we organized our number line there. So lastly, we're going to look at how to read a box and whisker. So the first thing I want you to do is, if you look at this box and whisker that you have here, it's already outlined for you here. And just take a couple minutes and summarize it in your own words. Just try to describe what is happening here. So we have the number of hours Calvin spent playing outside per week. And then it's separated in the winter months and the summer months. So now we want to explain what each of the following and what they mean in terms of this information. So we want to look first at the outliers. So what's cool about the box and whisker plot is the way the minimum and the maximum, the whiskers can really highlight when there are outliers. So as you can see here, 1 week in the winter, he spent 16 hours outside. So we would say that is an outlier. It was not normal. And there was an unusual data point in this. So for here, we might say he spent 16 hours one week in the winter. And it was not normal. Maybe there was snow days, or he was on a ski vacation. So that's why that data was skewed. So if we look now at the median, so if we look at the median in the winter, so that's where we would be looking right here. So how many hours in the winter was the middle number of hours? So we would say that is 4. And then looking at the summer, again, we'd want to look at what is the median number of hours he spent outside in the summer. So that would be 13 hours. And again, and then for the quartiles, we would do the same thing. We would just be looking at, so if we just start with winter, Q1, or the lower quartile, would be like here, where that lines up, so about 3.5. And Q2, again, would be kind of here, so 7. And summer, Q1, we see is right here around, I don't know, 8.25 or 8, but it's a little more than 8. And Q3 is much higher, and that's up there at 15, which we think in terms of time of year makes a lot of sense. In the winter, it might be cold, spending a lot more time inside, and also, having school in the summer. If you're on summer holidays, then you have much more time to be outside, and in terms of how that data would look. So then we have the min, the max, and the range. So in the winter, the range would be, if we don't count the outlier, right? If we want to just look at the range from the maximum to the minimum, that would be, so we would have 10 minus 1. So the range would be 9. And then in the summer, it looks like, we would be starting at 16 was the most. So that's our maximum, and 4 is our minimum. So in the summer, we're looking at the range of 12. So that's just a way to kind of understand what a box plot is showing you and how to read it. From here, now there's a practice worksheet I would like you to do to practice this. And then when you're off campus for parent-teacher conferences, there's an activity posted online as well that I would like you to complete. If you have any questions, please send me an email, and I will try to get back to you. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all when I'm back on campus next week.